I've been waiting like 2 weeks to say this because I miss this every day of my life. We are live. It is your second favorite duo on 49ers Twitter, behind only Jason Aponte and Brad Graham. As the greatest basketball player of all time once said in Portland, I am back. That's Stephen Curry, in case you were wondering. As always, to my right is a man that if he said something I agreed with and I was Canadian, I would say, Jason, you got Aponte. And that's where we went today with that one.
Good God, that one actually is pretty good.
You got Aponte?
Aponte, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see how it works? Yeah, I feel like I've started a thing that I'm not happy that is a thing still, because now I feel like there's expectations. And
people are looking for it.
I perform less and less well when there is expectations on me. And I don't like expectations. That's kind of how I've lived my life, is just, gliding under the expectations. And that's what I do. So Jason, a lot happened last week when I wasn't here.
Mm-hmm. How's your ankle?
It's my back. We're good.
Well, I mean, when anybody goes on IR, it's
it's the ankle too. The ankle's good. Ankle, best shape of my life. Jason, before we talk 49ers, can we talk about something just very off topic that I think it's a sports thing, but it has nothing to do with the 49ers. And I just want to acknowledge it because it's something that I feel like we should talk about, if that's okay with you.
Always.
Okay, I just want to say it. I'm going to put it out there. I'm a 12. I'm
what?
12. Yeah.
What?
So, listen, a lot of things. So I went up to Seattle, in case you're wondering.
Yes.
I have the Kraken hat now.
Yes.
But yes, I am a 12. I'm proud to say it. It's been a very good week for us 12s. USC, they're going to the Sweet 16. Oregon, Sweet 16. Colorado fell to Florida State, which is kind of a bummer, but UCLA in the Sweet 16. It was a good week for the Pac-12, and I would consider myself a 12.
Nice job. I was waiting for you to lock it all in.
I backed the Pac, baby. Pac-12, the Conference of Champions. And in the context of the Pac-12, I am a 12.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that we cleared that up because I was very nervous and I was about to hold open auditions for a new co-host. And we would have to change the name too. Like, it can't just be the Sprint Right Option podcast with Jason Aponte and someone else.
Oh,
like,
it'd be
would
Brad Graham.
No, but I'd have to tear it down and start from the beginning.
No, dude. Hey, I'm kind of sad that Oregon plays USC. It knocks one of the Pac-12 teams out. Conference of Champions. It's been a good time. Anyways, that last 5 minutes are all the things I thought about saying in the last week, and I got them off. They're done. I'm done with the jokes. The 49ers, they've had a pretty good past couple weeks. I missed all the fun, the good one, the really, really good ones, the ones they needed to get done. I missed Juszczyk. I missed Trent Williams. All these are very good. I'm sad I couldn't record to talk about the Jed York John Lynch night. And
talk about it. Go for it.
I wish we could go back in time and just honestly, if I lived the rest of my life in the mood I was that night, just because of what John Lynch and Jed York were tweeting, I'd never want to forget that feeling.
So that was an amazing night on 49ers Twitter because those tweets come across. Everyone sits there and they're saying, oh my gosh, they're hacked. There was an abundance of players, people around the 49ers who have been hacked. So it kind of fell in line with what was going on. So it made sense. But then you find out they're not hacked.
No laws and drinking clause.
John Lynch and Jed York were pounding drinks and sending tweets, and it's almost like, what's the over under on risky texts that Jed and John Lynch sent in that time period when they were drinking?
Oh man, they definitely sent a text to like Patrick Mahomes and did some lightweight tampering, which was like, hey, you want to come play football for us, buddy? And then they realized that they couldn't do that.
take it from a guy who has sent these sort of text messages. Been
no.
thinking about you. I really didn't know what I lost when I let you go and I didn't sign you or I didn't draft you. So I just want to make it up, and I just want you to know that you don't have to answer this, but I miss you, and I made a big mistake.
What makes me the most sad is like I'm mad that I didn't think of I'm thirsty, Niner fans, you want some juice? Because that's like my brand tweet. He like honestly, John Lynch, that is copyright infringement. That is my brand. To make jokes like that.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, a small detail we forgot about that night. It wasn't it the next morning, like Juszczyk's agent came out and said, like, yeah, the juice is more expensive than what you think it is right now. And then like the next day, so I don't know if like the agent played along with it too, but Kyle Juszczyk's a Niner. John Lynch and Jed York just by far, like I texted you that night because that's when I was in Seattle. I texted you, I'm like, do you think 49ers Twitter would be this lit if they won the Super Bowl? And I don't think they would have.
No, it's a small moment of where the vulnerability is shown between the owner and the general manager, and it really united 49ers Twitter. Everybody put their swords down for a few hours, and that was really nice. And everyone just partaked in the jokes. And then the hashtag was born. Hashtag Kyle. Because Coach doesn't have an Instagram or a Twitter. He's not on social media. You know why? Because he's cooking up plays. He doesn't have time for he doesn't have time for your social media games. But hashtag Kyle was born, and hashtag Kyle was trending.
We got it trending. I think it was like 13th. I wasn't sure if it was trending because like my phone is, 49ers everything. So I had my girlfriend go on her Twitter, and she doesn't really follow 49er stuff, and it was there too. So hashtag Kyle was trending, and it like the thing is, like with the Super Bowl, if the Niners win a Super Bowl, in theory, we would have at bare minimum 2 weeks to mentally prepare for winning a Super Bowl, right? At bare minimum. At no point in our life, Jason, did we ever think, hey, this is how we're going to react if John Lynch makes a pun about Kyle Juszczyk's name and Jed York just starts telling – Jed York and I are the same drunk, and it makes me so happy because I'm very much the person too. Like, Jason, I don't know if I've been drunk since we've known each other, but the next time I get drunk, you're going to have like 7 I love you text messages. And
oh man, finally someone tells me, and no one ever tells me those things sober or drunk. So
yeah, dude, so like that's my thing. Is like Jed York and I, we drink and we love everybody, and that's good. That's a good thing.
That was a nice break between the tension and everything as well too. Everybody was all upset. Everybody was all upset about who was going to be signed, who wasn't. It was such a nice break. It was such a nice break on the timeline, man. That was such a fun time and something that is going to go down in 49er Twitter history lore. Like, put it in the book. Yeah. Make sure it's there. The night that Jed and John took it too far, and they were sending out a bunch of tweets.
Yeah, all you need to know is like I've been gone for 2 weeks. Jason and I have barely talked because I've just been in pain. And this is the thing I wanted to talk about on the podcast. Not Trent Williams re-signing, not any of the re-signings. I just wanted to talk about Jed and John just having – like, I don't even want to refer to them as John Lynch and Jed York that night because that night they were just Jed and John just having time.
See, you can't even really match the names because they both have initials. So,
yeah.
York and Lynch, Lork, maybe, I don't know, whatever, spitballing. But hey, let's get this back on track.
So the news that we haven't touched on this podcast yet, K'Waun Williams is back. That's cool. Why am I drawing a blank on who signed today? Wow, I am garbage at this. This is good.
K'Waun Williams is back.
K'Waun Williams is back.
He's the only one who's back. Kerry Hyder signed yesterday.
Hyder signed yesterday, yes. We're spitballing this.
Yeah, with the 12s.
Which I'm sad about. Like, listen, I guess we should.
So you want to go on your Hyder? So let's, first of all, before you do that, let me just say this. I'm happy for you, Kerry Hyder.
Yes.
Get your money. You deserve it. And I'm not going to tell you where you want to go, whatever. Seattle's always just going to take, people. Like, if Andrew left this podcast right now, a Seattle podcast would go and try to pick him up. Like, that's how these things work.
Yeah. My official statement from the pod is we stand Kerry Hyder. We love Kerry Hyder. We hope he succeeds wherever he goes. He got his money. However, as a 49er podcast, Kerry Hyder, I have to officially say we are no longer Kerry Hyder Stan podcast. And I apologize. As individuals, we will stand you. We will cheer for you. We will hope you do great. As a podcast, though, we can't do it. And that's just business, right?
And there's 2 games where I don't want to see Kerry Hyder do well.
Oh, yeah. No. Those 2 games, Kerry Hyder, I hope you have bad games. And, you know, it is what it is. But I hope you have a good season in Seattle. I said it. And the name the Niners re-signed today was Jordan Willis. I knew they re-signed somebody today.
Jordan Willis, yes.
They brought back Jordan Willis. The other name I wanted to talk about is Tevin Coleman. He goes to the Jets, which, you know,
someone's stealing all our players.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of ideas of like where, you know, all these Niner free agents would go, and the Jets would be the first name to come up. I didn't think Tevin Coleman was going to be the first name to pop up in that. So, I mean, that is what it is. You know, he was a 49er. It happened. And that's my take on Tevin Coleman, the 49er. I think that's a fair assessment.
I mean, as long as if he gets a game against the Panthers, you're finished. He's going to score 5 touchdowns in that game. Like it's over. Yeah,
that's honestly my bold take, and let me research these numbers before I say my bold take.
Are the numbers out for K1?
Oh, I'm looking up different numbers. It'll come together here in a second.
This is good podcasting right here.
As a Jet, he had 800. Tevin Coleman will have more rushing yards this season as a Jet than Le'Veon Bell did in his 2 years as a Jet. That's my hot take. I'm sticking with it. Le'Veon Bell had 863 rushing yards in 2 years with the Jets.
That is the most lukewarm take I've ever heard in my life.
I'm gonna hit
nothing close. Nothing close to being hot.
That's my hot. Well, I mean, but when people hear Tevin Coleman and Le'Veon Bell in the same sentence, more often than not, they're going to say Le'Veon Bell's better. But in 17, he literally played 17 games. So if Tevin Coleman can stay healthy, I think Tevin Coleman beats him in this year.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'll give you that because right now there's not a lot of competition in that backfield, and it's the same backfield that Le'Veon Bell. You know, but here's the thing: Le'Veon Bell had Adam Gase hating him the entire time. You know, Tevin Coleman will have no such restrictions either. Yes. Here's a signing that I want to talk about that Kali brought up. Who's the big nose tackle that we got from Carolina? Zach Kerr. is a very solid addition. This past year, he was graded very highly in PFF. Obviously, PFF is not the Bible, but it was a good indication of sometimes guys put it together a little bit later. And if we're talking about interior linemen and it's part of a rotation, I love the move because there's plenty of tape of him beating guys off the line, getting pressures. That's what you want. You want pressures on the inside. So when you're talking about Bosa being back, Ebukam, maybe even D Ford, which is something we have to actually really touch on now because after the restructure, there's been rumblings that D Ford is going to be maybe contributing to this roster. And I mean, if he plays one snap, that's one more than anybody would have expected. But back to Kerr. Kerr, I think, is going to be a solid addition. And I think in the same way that Kerry Hyder kind of flew under the radar when he was brought in, I think that Kerr is going to do really good things in a rotation with a bunch of other guys. So I really like him. I love the move. It's under the radar. It's very solid. It's not splashy or anything like that. And I think that's where the issue is that people want names or they want people that they have seen highlights of and things like that. Sometimes you bring in a guy who's under the radar and, you know, you coach him up. And I think that's what we're going to get with Kerr, honestly. I really like him.
Yeah, and Ashford, we'll get to your question here in a minute. We'll definitely talk some Gardner Minshew. I don't know much about Kerr, so I would be lying to say, that I know how impactful of a signing it is. I watched a few things. I've only seen good things said about him, and that's means something to me at least. The thing I want to point out too with free agency, you mentioned that like not a lot of splash names have been signed by the 49ers. Honestly, free agency isn't where you want to do that because more often than not, these big free agency contracts, they tend to bite teams more than they help them. And for me, I think you always look, and this is my personal thought of free agency, and I'm not trying to reflect on what the Niners think at all. This is my thought. I think you use free agency to fill the voids. You use the draft and trading to get better. I don't think if you're going into free agency like, hey, Andy Dalton's the answer to our quarterback problems, you got some problems, starting quarterback problems, because I know the Niners looked at him as a backup. But I don't think necessarily you're looking for superstar guys in free agency. I think it's very rare. I mean, the last time a big name free agent hit the market, Peyton Manning, like that's the biggest name that comes to mind, but nobody really stands out too often after a big contract signing in free agency. So we'll see what that does. So I'm excited that they're shoring up a lot of things because they needed edge rushers. They've definitely addressed the secondary via free agency. They brought back Tart, which very good. That's 2 thumbs up from this podcast. I really think him and Ward, yes, they don't, I know people like to complain about the interceptions. That's just a number you look at on stats that look good. You got to really watch them to really appreciate how great they are. You bring back K1, Jason Verrett, a huge one too. I don't know what's going on. I know AJ Boye was rumored. I don't know what's going on with that anymore, but that's always an option. So the Niners have done a good job addressing their needs in free agency. Now they need to get into the draft and they need to make their slam dunk at whatever position they decide to make. If they decide the quarterback positions where they need to upgrade, then they need to make a slam dunk pick at quarterback. If they decide to stand pat, you need to hit a slam dunk at defensive back. That's what they'll probably do if they stay at 12, right? Unless like Devonta Smith's still available, which he might be because apparently he's small now.
Apparently he's skinny, so they don't like that.
Hey, listen, if you want, bigger guys, I'm 215 right now.
I'm gonna stand up for the skinny guys and say that, yo, we can ball, man. Stop playing with us.
Yeah, that's another pet peeve of mine. This is the time of year where we look at 40-yard dashes and hand sizes and weights and be like, well, they're probably not going to be a good football player because of that, and that's not what we should be doing with this. So, yeah, that's kind of my general word vomit I just had of free agency. Yeah. I like what the Niners have done. They brought back the pieces they needed to and then some, and for me, the piece they needed to bring back was literally Trent Williams, and I would have been happy. That's what they did. People who were talking about his cap hit in 3 years or whatever it is, the advice I've been given recently is you look at every NFL contract as a 2-year deal because you never know what's going to happen after that second year. And that cap hit in 3 years could be significantly smaller because A, they move money around, B, they restructure. So just look at it 2 years at a time, we'll be good.
Well, what I'll say about the Trent deal is that it's 6 years, but it's basically 2-3 year deals. And after the 3rd year, it starts to put outs in the deal, So again, Trent knew full well, hey, I'm of this age. Maybe this is what happens, things like that. So all that stuff is in there. I kind of wanted to go back to the Tart and Ward thing, honestly, yes. and K1 and all that stuff. So here's the thing about bringing all these guys back. And everybody wants to say, oh, no big splashy. Here's the problem. You get all your guys back, and now you become ultimately flexible in the draft. You can do whatever you want at 12. You don't have glaring holes anymore. Alex Mack is your center. Trent Williams is back. That line's upgraded. You got guys that you can completely trust on the back end. Ward, Tart back, K1 back, Verrett back. You're basically bringing back all of those guys, and you know that they're players. There's also people behind those people that people are, that fans love. So Tarvarius Moore is still there. Marcel Harris is still there. So there's plenty of depth there. Now you really can be a wild card when it comes to what you do at 12. Or if you were inclined, not saying that they are, if you were inclined, you could move up for a Justin Fields, for a Trey Lance, something like that, depending on where you land. But right now, honestly, the 49ers have done a bang-up job of filling this roster out with guys who immediately can play. No issues with system, anything like that. Everything is just hit the ground running and go. And now you are in a spot where you can do whatever you want with 12, anything you want. And if there's no quarterback there to be taken at 12, I'm still opposed to Mac Jones at 12. I think that is way too high. But let's say that there's not somebody that you like. Trading back and getting picks is not a bad idea. And that's the thing. There. I'm sorry.
I was going to float the idea of trading back,
Basically right now, and I'll pass it to Andrew. Basically, the idea is that you can do whatever you want to do, anything. And if you don't make these moves, You don't have that sort of flexibility and not carefreeness. That's not the word I want to use, but it's more like now it's almost you can do best player available. You can do whatever you want at that pick, and that's a good spot to be in. This is still a loaded roster.
Yeah, no, and that's my point is, let's say Mac Jones is the guy. Let's just pretend he's the guy, and I don't think he's worth the 12th pick. Let's say the Niners don't try and trade back, especially now. Like, what's the purpose of standing pat, I guess, if you've really shored up all these positions? And sure, they could probably use another corner. I don't think that's a bad idea at this point. But let's say hypothetically AJ Bouye comes in, right? Let's just say that's the name I've heard rumored. That's the name we run with. Let's throw AJ Bouye. Let's put him on the Niners. You know what? Let's even give him number, I don't know, 2021. That's Dion's number. I don't know why that was the first Niner.
Frank Gore's number.
Mind. Yeah, it's also Frank Gore's number, so it doesn't work. But in this argument, like let's just make AJ Bouye a Niner, right? Now you might not have to go cornerback in the first round, and now you're kind of playing. If you feel so inclined and you want to go get Justin Fields, go get Justin Fields. But if you don't think that Justin Fields in the first round is conducive to the current build of this team,
or the move,
why not trade back? Why not try and get some more picks? And I don't know. The Niners, I think they're in a good spot. Am I saying that they're in a good spot in terms of winning an NFC West title? That I don't know. I think every other team in this division got better. At least none of them got worse. I think the Cardinals have stayed pretty steady. And I just think a lot of that has to do with Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh, wait, Andrew. AJ Green's over there, and so is JJ Watt. Clutch your pearls. The Cardinals are coming.
Oh, man, the Arizona. Also, I've been told that my meme I made about him and Larry Fitzgerald being on the same team, apparently Larry Fitzgerald isn't going to be back with the Cardinals or something. I don't know. So that was cool. His contract expired. I'm really sad that my meme is no longer factually correct.
So can somebody out there, Twitter world, get me a Larry Fitzgerald jersey swap? Let's start doing this now, and let's start just get.
Did I tell you Cato June responded to that tweet?
Who was that?
The former linebacker for the Colts. He just gave a couple laughing emojis, and I'm just like, wait, why is Cato June's in my mention? Like, that's weird. I guess that's what happens when you have a podcast with Jason Aponte. Is those big names they come through every so often. Do we want to talk about the new spicy quarterback name that we picked today?
Yeah, that's fine. Go for it.
We drew a name out of hat today, and today's name was Gardner Minshew. I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. It's a podcast. That makes sense. He's the wrong pick. He is the wrong pick for a backup. And let me explain why. I think he is a great backup quarterback option. The issue is I would have rather have Joe Flacco. I would have rather had Andy Dalton. And the reason, Gardner Minshew is a walking meme. Okay, that's what he is. He's a good-looking dude. He's got the hair. He's got the mustache. He's that dude. The issue with that is if Jimmy Garoppolo has like 4 bad games, let's just say the season starts and Garoppolo's not even bad. Let's just say he's average. Nobody is calling for Joe Flacco to start. Nobody's going to call for Andy Dalton to start. Gardner Minshew, though, you might slowly hear the rumbles of like, hey, Minshew might be better than this. And that in its own is an issue. I don't want a backup quarterback because Jason, we had to do it with Nick Mullins last year for 5 weeks. You don't want a backup who is you want to walk that line where he's good enough to step in when he's needed, but not good enough to when your quarterback's not performing well, you want him to start. And Minshew is too close to that. He might be a good look if Garoppolo starts out a little slow, and that's my issue with it. So I really just did a really long wraparound way of saying he'd be really good as a backup. He just might be too good.
So let me play devil's advocate, the other side. Someone say that's a good thing because there was never a time where Jimmy Garoppolo had to look over his shoulder at Nick Mullins or CJ Beathard. And not that he needs to look over his shoulder or anything like that. But there's nothing wrong with a little competition. I'll tell you this. If I'm playing a 7-year-old in chess or checkers, I'm going for the throat. You know why? I care about competition. That's just how I am. I'm gonna whip you. I'm gonna whip you bad. And so hopefully that gets the competitive juices going for him a little bit more. Not that he needs that. Not that that's something that he needs. But here's to your point. Gardner Minshew is a fine backup quarterback option. Fine. Like if you have to move to him, he's better than Nick Mullins. He's definitely better than Nick Mullins. I don't really have to belabor that point. But that's my thing. Is if this gives Jimmy Garoppolo a little bit of a push, why not? And also while giving yourself the security. I'm so tired of talking about backup quarterbacks. I swear on God, I've never spoken about what fan base obsesses about backup quarterbacks more than 49ers Twitter. Honestly, seriously, I hate it. I don't want to talk about backup quarterbacks anymore. Can we talk about the draft? Can we talk about anything? It's like, man, Joe Flacco's coming in for a visit. Everybody loses their mind. Gardner Minshew is being put into jerseys. Everybody's going crazy. I don't like talking about backup quarterbacks. I don't care. CJ Beathard signed with the Jags today. Do you want to talk about him too?
I do, actually.
So that means Trevor Lawrence is out at 1. So the 49ers can trade up.
Trevor Lawrence out at 1. That's definitely factual. I honestly can see the Jaguars. You got to get a guy for CJ Beathard. So maybe Devonta Smith, maybe Jamar Chase. I don't know. We can talk about it. Let me say my bit about CJ Beathard. We could change the topic from backup quarterbacks to whatever you want, or whatever. I have an idea of something we could talk about. I will never forget that Monday Night Packer game where Beathard almost did it. That's my memory of Beathard. The Monday night game, Garoppolo's injured year. They go into Lambeau. Kyle
is dripped out.
Just respect the drip. I sometimes go back and look at those pictures. Yeah. Could you imagine Bill Belichick looking that good? No,
your coach could never. That black on black with the Shanahan hat and the black bomber jacket. Your coach could never.
Oh man, on Monday Night Football too, I feel like it hits different when it's Monday Night Football. Like,
sure does.
If he wears that in the afternoon, that just doesn't hit. I'm trying to find his Beathard's game log for that game real quick.
Well, what I remember from that game was the Marquise Goodwin bomb.
Yes.
The game they come out firing with who was the running back in the game? Remember, everybody thought it was Alfred Morris. And there was a famous Matthew Berry rant about how he started Alfred Morris and he needed 1 point or something like that. And the only carry that he had was the first down that gave him, because he plays with first downs as multipliers. He got the first down. It was callback. Mostert went crazy in that game. He went crazy in that game.
87. Breida went 14 for 61 with a tutty.
Yeah, so Alfred Morris gets in the game real quick. I don't know why I'm back to this Matthew Berry thing, because it's like a legendary rant. This is a guy who plays fantasy football for a living, right? And he's no stranger to the same things that we yell about with fantasy football. When you lose by a point, when you lose by half a point, he's down by a point or something like that, or less than that. He gets that point with one Alfred Morris carry finally, and then they take it off the board because it was a penalty, and he never gets back in the game and he loses. So it's like, man, that's what I remember from it. But Marquise Goodwin was great in that game. CJ Beathard made some throws in that game. Cobb was in his bag in that game. That's what I really remember.
Beathard finished 16 for 23, 245, 2 touchdowns, an interception, a passer rating of 115.3. He hit Marquise Goodwin, who was a Niner last week for about a day. If you blink, you missed it. He hit Goodwin on a 67-yard, I believe it was a tutty.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah, and also on the topic of Matt Berry, how many fantasy leagues do you think he plays in every year that the buy-in is more money than we've ever seen in our life? Because I would say he plays in at least one where it's like, why are you playing for that much money, dude?
I would say that he probably plays in about 5 because there's a whole bunch of them. There's different versions. So he probably plays in a best ball league, like that, where you don't have to set lineups. It's just, you draft your players and that's it. However, you take the highest score from each player and you throw that up as a score. Best ball, he's in dynasty, high stake leagues, redraft, high league. I would say 5. I would put him in at 5.
Okay. That question just came off the top of my head. Are you tired? Are you tired of talking about backup quarterbacks?
I am.
Let's talk about a starting quarterback, Jameis Winston. He's going to be the Saints starter. I had to say it legally.
Is he?
If they start Taysom Hill, so help me God. So help. I will fly down to New Orleans and fight Sean Payton if they start Taysom Hill.
I want Taysom Hill to start now just for that reason alone. Like only that reason. And I mean, look, I promise I'll have money to bail you out. New Orleans is a beautiful city, so I'll go down there. I will. No, I love New Orleans. It's an amazing place. But
how much they love Sean Payton down there, I don't think I would see bail. I just think
probably not.
Like, nah, you're locked up, dude.
I'll just come through in the suit and I'll be like, I'm his lawyer. I need to see my client.
Yes. No, I'm very happy that Jameis is going to get a chance in an offensive system that I think is going to work for him. I think a year under Drew Brees, very good for him. I mean, did you see his interview yesterday about Drew Brees? He started crying about Drew Brees, and I like seeing my quarterbacks have a soft side.
Yeah, he did. I figured that you would get, a little bit emotional about that.
Anything Jameis does, I'm good with.
I mean, and you've already built your brand where it's like that. So
never, I rescind that statement. I'm not okay with everything Jameis wants.
I'm not okay with everything he does, right?
So I don't know. Did we touch everything 49ers we needed to talk about today? I feel like we got everything.
I wanted to talk about Kerr. Hyder left, Spoon's gone, Verrett. We got the Tart news, the Tart news is big, man. I'm so happy that he's back.
I can't even explain how excited I am. I just, as I said earlier, I get that people want to see the interceptions, but what they do, man, is like, they're just good. They're good. They're a very good combo. I think there's something to be said of having a duo that has been together longer, and I get people being excited about Tarvarius Moore, and I like Tarvarius Moore as well. The thing is like Tart and Ward have been together for a few years now, and there's something to it.
But not only just here, they've been in since high school.
That too. It's even deeper than that. And in a year where the secondary is probably going to see a little bit of turnover, I know the Niners brought Verrett and K1 back. To have that stability still in the secondary, having those two veteran guys together with a defensive backfield, that's going to be a little different because, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if a rookie's there or if it's Boye. I still haven't really given up hope on Sherman, to be honest, but I won't say that out
loud. That's not as crazy as
I don't think it's as crazy as it. I don't think it's as crazy as it sounded a month ago. But I think there's something to be said of having Tart and Ward back there. It's like a safety blanket, You just know they're going to be there. They're going to be good. And you take it, and I understand that people want flashier players and all that, but I would rather have very solid players than players that are flashy.
So you nailed it, right? My article came out today about what Tart does as far as, here's the thing. Everybody wants the big interceptions, all those things. The biggest plays that are made are the ones that aren't those plays, I think, in my mind, right? If there's no coverage bust, when Jimmy and Tart are there, they understand exactly what they're looking at. They're both flexible. So this idea, I saw it floated on Twitter, and it kind of made me upset. This idea that Tart is back, and now it's going to push Ward into a less impactful role as a free safety. I don't get that, because the way that they move pre-snap, wherever they're aligned in the beginning of the pre-snap, whenever snaps actually happen, they're never there. They rotate one other way. Jimmy can play in the slot. Tart's been on the offensive line. I mean, I'm on the line of scrimmage, over in the free safety spot. And in the article that I wrote today, that's out on 49ers Goldmine, it really highlighted all of those things. So sometimes when people say things online, I just wonder, like, one, are you just like going out of your way to try to like bash people, or do you actually know what you're looking at? That's my question, really, more than anything.
Can I tell you my Jaquiski Tart story?
Go for it.
He actually got me back into the 49ers.
Go for it. Talk about it.
Well, it's the dumbest reason, but so 2014 happens. We know what happens there. 8-8. Harbaugh gets fired. All that stuff. I took a year off. I was like, I can't support this team. Jed York doesn't know what he's doing. I obviously take that back now. Jed York is a very smart man. But I can't. I'm not going to watch this team and I love Jim Tomsula too. But I'm not going to watch this team with Jim Tomsula as the head coach. So I took 2015 off. Like, if you asked me any trivia on 2015, I probably couldn't answer it. But then I played, like, I didn't even know they had Tart in 2015. But then my friend convinced me to buy Madden, the next year, and so I bought it, go through the Niners depth chart, and I go, yo, the Niners have a guy named Jaquiski Tart. That is an all-time football name. I'm all in on the Niners again. And I started watching the Chip Kelly year because I'm like, yeah, this Tart guy is going to be sick because he's got a football name. Jaquiski Tart is a football name. You can't tell me otherwise. And that's why I got back into the Niners. That's my 100% honest story. So that's why I was happy to see him back. Is he definitely like just his name alone got me back into the Niners.
Yeah, and that's a good story actually. I really
it's so dumb, and it's like it's more of a like how easily entertained I am story because like I just got back into it because this guy had a name that was just cool. And then he turns out to be a really damn good. You know what? He's the best safety in the NFC West.
Woo! The best strong safety in the NFC West. Let's go. I'm absolutely with you on that one. Here's another thing that 49er fans need to know. 7th year. 7.
Yeah.
7 years.
Yeah. That's
one of the longest tenured 49ers.
He might be the longest tenured.
He might be the longest. Yes.
Let's look at this 2015 roster, see if we can solve that.
Jimmy Ward, I think, is on there too. So it's them two, I think, that are the ones that are still left, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, I'm glad that he's back. Again, those coverage busts, again, nothing against Tarvarius Moore. Nothing against Tarvarius Moore. We understand the tools. We understand everything that he can do. But unfortunately, those coverage busts that happen, they happen when he's in the game. There's a stat that I posted on Twitter, and it's in the article as well. I believe in 12 less games than Jaquiski Tart. He has almost 125 more receiving yards allowed. That is mind-numbing almost when you think about it. And you don't even have to watch the tape to understand that. You can watch the tape and then say, what were you doing there? What were you thinking?
Whoa.
But those numbers are...
I think he froze. He froze. So that, we're going to call it there because he did freeze and he was making a really good point, but we just got to call it. It is what it is. And, are you back? Oh, you're back now.
I am.
For a solid 10 seconds.
I did. I know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But yes, we were right. Jaquiski Tart and Jimmy Ward, 2 longest tenured Niners. Just lightly eyeballing it, it looks like those are the only 2 names still there.
That's it.
Reggie Bush was on that team. Let's go.
Reggie Bush, 49ers legend.
So we're gonna call it. We'll be back. Should we like lightly tease our plan for the draft? Because
something big is coming. Something big is coming. I don't know if it's going to be this week. I don't know if it's going to be next week. We are working on it right now, but we have something up our sleeve. Yes, we have something up our sleeve, and I think it's going to be easily our best episode. But I don't want to give it away yet until we completely confirm. But fingers crossed, it looks good.
That wasn't even what I was going for. I was going to talk about our draft plans.
Oh, well, the draft plans are kind of
we just got a little bit of a tease there.
But I may be in Cleveland.
Oh. Okay.
So, I mean, here's the thing.
Okay.
Cleveland has opened up their NFL draft, and they've said fans can be there. You just have to be, 1, vaccinated, and 2, you have to wear a mask. But here's the thing. Usually the NFL draft is just straight up. Anybody who wants, they can just jump in and get their tickets. That's how it was in Nashville the last time that there was a live draft, if I'm not mistaken. There probably was one after that. I'm sorry. But either way, what's happening now is that now teams are basically designating super fans, basically their season ticket holders.
Okay. Super
fans is the ones that they're going to send. So every team gets to send, I think it's like 7 or 8 of their fans to the game and to the draft. The problem is that I won't be able to have access to that because I'm not a season ticket holder or anything like that. But there is a way for me to be out there and, do a show with you as well. I'm trying to lock down maybe a local, tavern, bar or something like that where they'll allow me to link with you on StreamYard and do a podcast.
Okay, well, then I'll just say the penciled in plan. And if Jason goes and does cool things like goes to the NFL draft, this won't happen. The pencil in plan is we're going to do a live show that's not going to be a recorded pod. We're just going to stream on StreamYard, and we're going to be live with the draft, as live as we can be. I don't think we can be on it because that's
well, we won't be able to broadcast it, so we'll just have to. You'll just have to watch us watch it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the plan. We'll talk. Maybe we'll try and line up some guests. We're talking about it. We're light plan, but Jason gave the big tease. That's all that matters. That's the big tease, and we will leave it at that.
Yeah, Sean, real quick, I'm not credentialed to cover the draft yet. Working on it. The NFL. So being credentialed with the team and the NFL, two different things. So let's see. I'm gonna reach out and see what they say. But with that, I think that they're because everything's so limited with everything with COVID, and you have to be vaccinated. And I've scheduled my appointment. I mean, I didn't schedule my appointment. I've reached out to figure out when I can. So I think that's really what it is.
I've done that too. I have done that as well. The reach
but
out.
Yeah, so I mean, hopefully, I'm gonna reach out and see what they say. But I think that what they're doing with those press credentials is they're leaving them for their big dogs, and that makes sense because that's not me yet.
Go get vaccinated.
Yes, I'm trying.
Well, just everybody.
Yeah.
That's going to be it. We're going to end with that statement. And thank you for joining. We'll see when the next show is. We're kind of back in that slow time a little bit again. So we'll see when the next show is.
Unless something crazy happens, then we have to do an emergency pod.
Oh yeah, emergency pod. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for joining. We'll be back whenever we're back. So thank you for listening. We appreciate you guys, Jason, as always.
Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners, huh?